All right, welcome to my first tutorial. I'm going to be trying to teach you some serum bass design, but I kind of want to go through the process of being able to turn one synth, making one synth, and then being able to turn it into a bunch of other synths, and just trying to break down the elements in building a sound, and changing different elements within that sound can just create something completely different fairly quickly. I'll start off. I've got a little drum loop. It's got a kind of an A and a B section to it. So I just whipped that up out of some old tunes because I couldn't be fucked to make anything new. So let's jump in. First, I'm going to create a serum. Now, I ran through this a couple of times actually before doing this tutorial, just to make sure I knew what I was doing. And I sort of found one of the easiest ways to create lots of patches is I just started off with a nice 8th or 16th note stab patch, and then I can turn that into all sorts of chunky, Neuro-y bass goodness. I like to just make a sound on a singular note, and then I'll start writing grooves and melodies and rhythms after that. All right, let's jump in. Cool. It's kind of sounding different. All right. I like to start with a square wave or a saw wave or a sine wave, generally a saw or a sine, to be honest. I'm going to go into analog, and I'm going to use this saw rounded. I like it because it can just be a saw, but you can modulate the wavetable position to kind of turn it into a bit more of a saw sine hybrid. So I'm going to give it a little bit of movement. Always turn random down for bass design. I like to have the detune and the blend at about 11 o'clock. Obviously you can experiment, but I like things to be a little bit more focused and narrow in the center image. All right. And then I'm going to put on another wavetable, generally like something with a little bit more harmonics and character to it. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use the native serum wavetable, because I have a whole bunch of others you might not have, in case you wanted to recreate this or something. Let's go with, I think, the Bussy. I'm just going to copy roughly the settings. And I'm also going to give this a little bit of modulation. It's turned all the way down, and then I'm just going to FM from B and create a stab. Too much FM fucks your sound up, so let's scale it down a bit. So the start is just getting some interesting wavetables with a little bit of movement and some warp modulation on them. like you could change this FM to AM or RM to get different tones. You could turn this off and just do some weird stuff with the PWM or the flip or any of this sort of stuff. But for now, my basic is doing FM, so we're going to do it like this. I'm going to turn the filter on. And I'm going to use that same LFO to get most of the shape and groove out of the sound. So this one is all about the slower modulation, just to give it some movement, while this one is going to be about the shape of the sound. Add a little bit of noise. Cool. Add some sub. I like to direct output it. I'm working on headphones, so I have no fucking idea how loud the sub is, so hopefully it's not too crazy sounding on your systems. Bit of distortion. I really like these diode 1 and 2. That. Now, some interesting things you can do, especially when you're FMing one oscillator to the other, is pitching the other oscillator around. So now that has some way gnarlier textures coming through. We'll turn it up to an 8th note. Now, I'm not going to mess around with the effects too much because that's kind of just up to you. I don't generally have too many of them. I just have a bit of distortion, maybe a flanger or a phaser or a chorus, maybe an extra filter. Sometimes I use this EQ for extra filtering as well to get another sort of low pass, high pass, or notch filter out of it. But I suggest you kind of get the sound how you sort of want it. And then you just start using those extra bits of filtering to make it just move a little bit more, just polish the sound a little bit more. So I'm going to duplicate the sound. A little bit too loud. Now let's fuck it up a little bit more and turn it into something different. The very first step, I think, is changing this LFO shape. Just going to draw something random and see how it sounds. Now, I've got a completely different feel to it, but some of the other parts are not sounding so nice anymore. All right, sounding a bit different. Let's change the oscillator type. All right. That's a thing, I guess. Not the greatest. I know how to turn it into something pretty good though after that. Like you might use that with a bit more development. Let's give it a morph filter. I like to pull in the width often to around about this 30%. Let's change the shape. But that's starting to sound like this nice warm fat thing. Let's just duplicate it again. I'm kind of happy with that. Some of these you could put a bit more work into before duplicating them. A cool thing is if you turn your noise oscillator to bidirectional and then you crank it up, it means half the time it's going to not be playing. Which can clean up the sound quite a lot sometimes. I quite like that. I'm gonna play with that a little bit more. Let's put a little bit on the mix. Again, I made it bidirectional, so half the time the filter is at full mix, but half the time it isn't. One thing you can do is you can turn the stack up so you can get some octaves. But I'm putting the octaves in the oscillator that's not playing, so it's sort of generating it. That's And this is sort of in the right spot, but I kind of wanted to clean up a little bit. So that's got some nice cool grooves going to it now. So we started with this. I'll play through and sort of show where we started. And then I'll also play you through some of the other demos I did. So I've just done this 3 times. It's taken about 15 minutes each. And I've come up with a completely different set of sounds. Sort of, I'm using the same filter shape in all of them, or a similar LFO shape in all of them, because I wanted to have some continuity for this tutorial. But here we go. I'm going to play you through what we've done, and then those other demos that I've done. And then so there we go. It's really about picking your oscillators, using some sort of warp and wavetable modulation on your oscillators just to make them move a little bit more, chucking a filter on, and then making that filter move in a different way. So easy things to change how your patches sound is you swap out the oscillator, you swap out the filter, you change the filter shape, you change the noise shape, you start pitching things around, and you can just get so many different sounds once you break it down like that. I highly suggest you do some sound design sessions where you just make a synth and then keep duplicating that synth, and changing it. And once you run out of ideas, make a new synth, keep duplicating that synth. Yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna rip out all the best synths I've done during this and use them in some of my sessions, and I'll also put them in a pack and I'll give them to you guys as well. Thanks for watching. Let me know how it went. Let me know what I didn't cover, what else you'd like to hear. If you'd like me to go into more specifics, more details. I'll probably do some stuff with bass processing. So I've just done the start of how to make a synth. I'll probably do how I process a synth as well. That's a lot more complicated, and that's where I got a lot of my tone as well. But I generally like to just make a good solid synth in Serum, and then don't use the Serum effects too much, and then a bunch of processing just to sweeten it up. But most of the character and movement comes out of Serum. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. That'd be awesome. I will see you again soon.